This may be one of the best presented watches I've ever actually experienced before. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches, and I know for a fact that packaging doesn't really matter. What the watch comes in really shouldn't matter too much. It shouldn't affect the price, it shouldn't affect the feel of the watch, it shouldn't affect how I feel about a watch, but in this case it has, because this TianWang blue fin has come in the packaging that I think is the best I've ever seen. Well, at least it's the most fun that I've ever seen, or maybe the best thought out I've ever seen. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. It has made me feel a little bit excited, so I am going to spend a little bit of time today talking about the packaging. But the packaging actually seems to represent the watch too, because it has been thought out. It has been thought out by being interesting, but it has been thought out by being put together in a particular way. I think as a package, this watch is really well presented. The watch itself, but also what it comes in. And as I show you this watch, packaging and the watch, I want you to ask yourself a question as we go along. I want you to ask, how much do you think this watch is? Now, I want you to try to get rid of any preconceptions of what you think it might be worth and just look at what I'm showing you and have a bit of a think and go, well, how much do I think this watch is? Because I'm going to mention the price, but I'm going to do it at the end of the video. And I'm going to want to be knowing what you think about this watch price and what you thought compared to what you're thinking prior to me telling you the price. Leave me a comment with what you thought it was before I ended up telling you. Now, I didn't actually have to end up buying this one myself because TianWang reached out to me and said, hey, we've got this massive company creating lots and lots of watches, and we want people from the West to start to be aware of our watches. So we want to give you one of our watches and share your thoughts with your viewers, which is why you would have seen that sponsored icon pop up there. And that's why I'm also going to leave some links to this watch in the description of this video. And when I actually went onto their website, it was exactly what they said. They produce a lot of watches, but I don't think I'd really ever come across them before. So I think they are very much a China-based watch company selling to China customers, but they're trying to get a little bit better knowledge outside of China, which is why they've been nice enough to give me this watch today to share with you guys. So let me show you the packaging of this watch, and then let me show you the details of this watch. And I've actually got a lot to say about this watch, so let's check it out. So here we have the TianWang Blue Fin Divers 300. It's water resistance to 300 meters, and it comes with its a little sort of spec sheet here. Supernova, BGW9, Sapphire Crystal. And it comes in this super cool case. Now, you can probably tell that this is looking like a container off a container ship. It even has the little doors there, but it probably doesn't give you a little bit of scale about it. So I want to put my arm in for scale. It's pretty much the length of my entire forearm. That is actually quite a big case. You can see both my hands completely cover it. Most watch boxes are about this big. This is quite large, and I quite like that they've put all the specs of the watch on the sides of it. A really nice presentation. It also comes with a few booklets and information about the watch, a little bit more about the Bluefin series. But let's get into this watch. Open up the doors, pull out the internal box, which again says Bluefin Divers 300, which then has another internal box presenting the watch, which then lifts out and has some rather interesting information that comes with it. Now, I don't normally spend this much time talking about packaging, but I think I just have to with this one because it's rather weird. Look at this. Look at this. These are clear sheets layering the watch together. And that's actually quite interesting. And it's quite interesting because it actually then really relates to the watch, because the watch has quite a few layers. And this is sort of representing that. I'm not sure what you're actually meant to do with this, but it's quite an interesting feature to have with it. There's also some additional information right here showing off the watch. And under here, there's even more stuff. We've got the warranty card in this credit card style. This one numbered number 121. It also comes with an additional sort of sailcloth style strap in a nice blue color. But of course, even though it comes in all this packaging, all this really cool packaging, all this really interesting packaging, we're actually just here to see the watch, aren't we? And there is so much to show about this particular watch. So many features, so many details, so many interest factors, and all of it is presented very well, and the quality is actually outstanding. I wasn't really sure if it was going to be, because sometimes interesting watches tend to be more leaning into the interest factor versus the quality factor. This one, it does both really well. And what it also does, if you can see it, and I'll try and show it in better lighting, is that inner dial, that blue dial, is one of the nicest blue sunburst effects that I have ever come across. But you're going to see that that dial is actually floating within the case. You can see my hand and my fingers behind it. It's been held in there by those sort of three angular features, which you can also see through the see-through case back. But on that inner dial there, that beautiful blue dial there, you'll see that there is some printing in white, the TianWang Bluefin Divers 300 and the minute track around the outside, but then everything else is applied. They're nice, thick, quite high off the dial applied markers, that interesting sort of triangle at the 12, dots at the other hours, all polished with lume inside, and a really cool set of hour and minute hands, and a nice long second hand. You can see it reaches right to the edge of that dial. Love that sort of arrowhead and that nice broad sword minute hand. And of course, we've also got a date window there. Now, it's not immediately obvious that that bezel insert is blue, but it has this beautiful dark blue look to it. And I don't know what it is. Is it ceramic? It might be. Is it anodized steel? It might be. I don't know what it is, but it looks very cool. And when you put this watch without the lights on, there's some interesting lume effect too. There's nice strong lume on the markers, the hands. There's a lumed date wheel there, as you can see, and lots of lume also on that bezel insert. Now, initially you'll probably see that case diameter of 44.7, and you might find that that is a little bit big. However, the lug to lug is only 46.7, so it's doing a little bit of what Seiko likes to do. It's sort of hiding those dimensions. It's 13.6 millimeters thick as well, 22 millimeter lugs, and on the rubber strap that it comes in with, it's 119.7 grams. That really cool dial is covered by a flat piece of sapphire crystal. That see-through case back is also a piece of flat sapphire crystal. And then we get into even more interesting features of this one. Look at the bezel outside grip surface. It's like big shark teeth that are moving around. You'll see that the bezel lines up nicely, and that the bezel action is very nice. No possibility of knocking this one, but not too hard either. Just a really nice bezel action. Now, I've shown you that you can see through past that dial within that case, but you can also see through the case itself, because on all the lugs there is a cutout. However, the section that is left is brushed. There is a polished chamfer edge running all the way around, and then all the way under as well. And then there's a cut-in featured there, which has an almost sandblasted finish. And there's a particular plate saying this is number 121. The crown guard has a rather interesting fact there, telling you which way to lock the crown, because this is a screw down crown. This doesn't move at all, it's just telling you which way to turn the crown. Now, this contains a Miyota movement. It has hand winding, it has a quick set date position, and it also has hacking. And that's action through a crown, which is signed with the sort of crown feature there. It's a crown on a crown. The Miyota, which you can see through the case back there, presents nicely. And it's always quite interesting to see how these movements are performing. So let's stick this Miyota on the time grapher and see what we're getting out of this one. Now, this watch contains one of the 8000 series Miyota movements, so it's running at 21,600 vibrations per hour, a little bit of beat error, but almost zero, nice healthy amplitude, and running about 10 to 15 seconds fast, which is within the parameters of those 8000 series Miyotas. I'm not known for normally liking rubber straps on watches, but this one, well, if I was going to like rubber straps, this is the one that I would like. I love that it integrates into the case itself really nicely. It has a texture effect to it. It slims down a little bit as it goes down, but it actually just feels really nice, really soft. Also, very nice branded hardware. Very cool. See the screw there? Just little features. This watch contains a lot of little features, lots of details, lots of interest factors, but all of them are done very, very well. Interesting doesn't always equate to good. Sometimes interesting can just be interesting. This is interesting done at a really high level. And you really notice that when you put this watch on, because it is immensely comfortable and it just sits down really nicely on wrist. This strap just fits and holds down nicely, and the case just works. Now, when you think about this watch with all those cutouts around, you may think that's a bit odd because you're going to look straight down at your arm hairs. But what I've found actually is that it just creates an interesting 3D effect to it, because there's not enough showing to see all your arm hairs. Instead, it just creates shadows, light play, and 3D effect. And that's actually turned out to be one of the things that I really like about this watch, and there's lots of things that I like. I like the details of this watch. I like the quality of this watch. I love those hands. That blue dial is honestly the best blue that I have seen. And the overall quality of this watch is absolutely outstanding. This really does feel like something a little bit extra special, and it presents extremely well in the case as well. Comes with a nice strap too, but it's not a perfect watch because this design is not going to fit everybody's tastes. Not everybody's going to look at this and go, that's the watch for me. And it contains a relatively simple movement, this 8000 Miyota series movement. And that leads me into the price of this watch, because I asked you at the start of this episode, how much do you think this watch is as you're looking at it, as I'm showing you it? And now, keeping in mind the Miyota movement and keeping in mind the overall quality, this watch retails for 1,429 Australian dollars. Now, I'm guessing quite a few people did not pick that. And I have to admit, that price confuses me about this watch, because the quality of this watch, the presentation of this watch, the details of this watch, and honestly the feel of this watch actually sort of lives up to that price range. It surprises me to say that. I didn't expect myself to say that, but I've handled lots of watches at different price categories, and it feels like a $1,500 watch, or at least a $1,000 watch. But that is not a $1,500 movement. Those 8000 series Miyotas are great movements, but they're in affordable watches. This is not an affordable watch. That's the wrong movement for this watch. If this was going to be asking that sort of price, it needs to have a Swiss caliber in there, a Sellita, even an ETA, and then I think as a package, the quality, the presentation, the movement, everything about it would tick the box for that price range. If perhaps they put a 9000 high beat Miyota in there, which I particularly like, I think it would tick the box for around about 1,000 Australian dollars. But with that movement, it just makes me feel conflicted. Firstly, the price is incorrect for that movement, even though the watch is amazing, not with that movement. But the watch is so amazing that why have they then chosen to put a super affordable movement inside of it? It confuses me. It's not just the wrong movement for the price range, it's the wrong movement for the watch. So TianWang, if you happen to be watching this, please reconsider the watch movement. It's a great product, but I would not recommend this one with that movement inside. This type of watch, this kind of style of watch, for me, it is a little bit niche, and it's going to take a certain person to see that and go, wow, I really like it, I want it. A watch enthusiast, a person who wants something interesting that is well made, well presented, and is just so well made. But then they're going to see that movement, and they're going to see that price and think, no thank you. So TianWang, update the movement, and then I would fully recommend this watch. I do thank TianWang, however. They did supply this watch to me. I have had the opportunity to have some hands-on with it. I am going to leave some links to it below. Perhaps we can even leave some feedback to them to try to get them to make a bit of a change to this watch. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Instead, maybe watch these two videos next.